All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is our Millionaire Mentorship call number 197. And our topic for today is overcoming procrastination. Overcoming procrastination. A lot of the things that we cover in this topic and many of the other Millionaire Mentorship calls is taken from one of our books, The 12 Universal Laws of Success, which is, of course, if you don't have one, is available at www.12uls.com, www.12uls.com. I want to thank all of our listeners who have been so faithful over, nearly over 3 years, that have shared each and every morning with us, every Saturday morning, and been a part of this. I salute you and thank you, because without you, I cannot grow, and because of you, we can all grow together. So this topic, procrastination, we have dealt with this a few times in the past, because if there's one thing that continues to come up, continues to motivate, you might say, continues to manifest in our lives, it is procrastination. And one of the things about procrastination is that if we don't learn to overcome it, learn to master it, we will always be unsuccessful. There's a quote from Don Marquiste, and it says, "Procrastination is the art of keeping up with yesterday." Edward Young said, "Procrastination is the thief of time." I often say that procrastination is the thief of dreams. And so, what is procrastination? Procrastination is putting off until tomorrow what should have been done last year, and for some of us, it's putting off until tomorrow what should have been done 5 years ago. It is putting off what should have been done today to another day. One of the key thoughts, though, is procrastination is a learned habit. In our last treatment of procrastination, we talked about the characteristics of the procrastinator. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that we're procrastinating, and so we pointed out some of the characteristics, and I'm going to just summarize them briefly, because sometimes we don't think that we're procrastinators, but if we're not getting the results that we're seeking in our lives, in our business, in our relationships, procrastination may be a root cause. So 7 characteristics of the procrastinator. Number 1, being afraid to fail. When we were kids, we always stood back. Sometimes there was that time when all the other kids jumped in the pond, and we were afraid to do it because we weren't sure we could swim. Another, saying, "I don't know where to start." If you find yourself saying that, you may be a procrastinator. A third, "I'm going to get started after this, after that." Sometimes we call it the "I'm gonna" syndrome. The fourth characteristic of the procrastinator is to focus on the immediate benefits rather than the long-term benefits. Focus on what's happening right now, the good that can come from something right now. It's almost like eating your seed corn, because you're hungry now, but you'll starve in the future. The fifth characteristic of the procrastinator is to wait for everything to be perfect before getting started. I got to get my desk cleared up as soon as I get these challenges out of the way. The sixth characteristic of the procrastinator is to say yes to other people for things that don't really fit into your program, to permit other people to steal your time and attention. And finally, the sixth characteristic of the procrastinator is perfectionism. everything has got to be perfect before you can take action. So with this being the case, let's focus on how do we overcome it? What do we do to overcome these characteristics of procrastination so that we can clear the deck to achieve the things that we seek to do, be, and have? Number one, every time I think about this, I tell you, it does something to me, because procrastination is so insidious that we often just don't even think about it. So number one is to realize, don't plan to procrastinate. So how do you plan to procrastinate? Well, many of us get ready to get ready. You say, well, you know what? I am going to get started right after this, that, or the other. When we plan to procrastinate, we incorporate it into our being. Number two, the second way to overcome procrastination is to realize that procrastination is a habit. It's a habit that we have developed over the years. We say at first we create our habits, then our habits create us. Realizing that procrastination is the main cause of failure. Number three, in overcoming procrastination, is to look at the cost of procrastination. Look at the missed opportunities. Look at where the shattered relationships. I remember I had a friend, we used to do business together, and in those days I used to be late for everything, and finally my friend said, look, I just can't deal with you. You're always late. And lost a great business relationship. Look at some of the duties that go unperformed, things that you should have done and you didn't do. Look at the engagements you missed. Really begin to look at that cost of procrastination. When I had an insurance policy once when my mother passed, and I paid on it. It had a health benefit to it, and I paid on it for about 5 years until my son fell off a bicycle. And when he went to the doctor, it turned out that the insurance was not for me. It had been only for my mother or my father, but I was the son. It didn't cover the children. And so for 5 years, I'd been paying $50 a month. That's $600 a year. That's $3,000. And I did not act on it right away. And by the time I wrote to the state to put in a claim, paying for something that I couldn't use anyway, it was too late. I guarantee you, if you start looking at the cost of procrastination, look at the things that have happened because you didn't take action now, because you didn't do certain things when they should have been done, that's a wake-up call. That's one that would get your attention. Know that procrastination is indeed expensive. Step 4 to overcoming procrastination. Have a definite schedule and stick to it. Especially with your routine activities. Routine activities are called routine because you do them at the same time over and over. So become very aware of your routine activities and have a definite schedule and stick to it. Number 5, make a list of the things that you have to do or that you want to do every day. Make a list of the things that you have to do and that you want to do every day. And most importantly, schedule a time to do each one of these items on your list. Those of us who are list makers, when we start to take control of our time and take control of our days in pursuit of our goals, our vision, and our purpose, we make these lists, and we begin to find at the end of the day we may have a list of 10 or 12 items, and at the end of the day we've only done 3 or 4. Okay? And one of the reasons is that we did not schedule the time for each activity to be performed. I know that's challenging because it forces you to project the day ahead in your mind to see yourself doing the things so that you can allocate the time and schedule those activities. But trust me, once you are able to schedule your activities each day, you're well on the way to achieving them and accomplishing them. Step 6, make a definite commitment to be on time for all engagements. I'm going to say that again. Make a definite commitment to be on time for all engagements. And not only to be on time for all engagements, but in fact to be early. I think Shakespeare once said that it's better to be 3 hours early than 1 minute late. This is one of those things that when we make that commitment to be on time, it's something that we can build on, that when we're always on time, people begin to recognize it. They say, I can set my watch by Herbert, because when he walks in, I know it's 15 minutes before whatever the appointed time is. When you can do that, then you're well on your way to success. The other part of that is to be time-bound in all activities, to set time parameters for all activities. And, you know, it's very interesting. When you put a time limit on things, it causes your level of activity to increase or decrease. If you can do it whenever, then you will do it whenever. But if you have to do it between 11 and 12, then it's interesting. When you pour your energies and focus your efforts on getting it done between 11 and 12, you create a harmonic relationship with the universe that makes everything support your efforts and help you get it done. Number 7. This is a big one, folks. Make realistic assessments of the amount of time required for each activity. Make realistic assessments of the amount of time required for each activity. The moment you begin to do that, something mental happens. When you begin to allow enough time for adequate preparation, not only is it you might say a mechanics, but it's also a visualization process. When you look at a task at hand, the only way that you can actually determine the amount of time it will take is to have a vision in your mind of what it is, of all of the components. And so when you make a realistic assessment of the amount of time it will take, number 1, and then 2, when you allow enough time for preparation. How do you know that you're not allowing enough time for preparation? You know, because when you get into the arena, when it's time to perform the task or the activity, you're not ready. You don't have everything. You're looking around to find this, that, or the other. And so if there's one thing to really work at that's like a core of overcoming procrastination, is that assessment of the amount of time, the realistic assessment of how much time it takes to do something, and then to allow enough time for adequate preparation so that when you step into the execution of that activity, you're ready and you can operate most efficiently. Number 8, commit to handle one activity at a time until it is completed. You know, when we start on our success journey and we have our daily plan of operation and we make that commitment to do one thing at a time, there's a sense of focusing your energy. Whatever you focus on grows. And so when you commit to do that one activity today, right now, then you literally put all of your psychic energy together to getting it done, and then that creates that magnetism, that attraction that pulls all the things you need into your space to help you get it done. But when you take your eye off the prize, when you take your eye off that single activity, you lose that power, you lose that force, you lose that magnetism. When you handle one thing at a time and complete each thing, something happens inside. It's almost a sense of creation. It's almost like a subtle patting yourself on the back. I got this done. I feel stronger now. I can move on to the next task. A key to this, though, is to start small. Sometimes when we make a commitment to get things done, we start with big, complex things, and so it's very important to start small. Do those little things first. When you start to, as we say, procrastination is a learned habit. Well, to get rid of it, you have to replace those procrastination habits with habits of do it now, of action now, of immediate activity. And so start small, do the little things first. And once you build on those little things, those little activities that you complete, from being on time all the time, from doing those small things to completion, you build your strength and your capacity to do even more. Step 9 to overcoming procrastination. Analyze complex projects and activities. Break them down into doable chunks so that each chunk can be done one at a time. Analyze complex projects and activities. Break them down into doable chunks so that each one of these chunks can be done one at a time. Say, how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. How do you build a dream? Day by day. This is a skill, and this is one reason it's so important to write things down. I'm aware of the cell phones and all of this technology, but there's something about the eye-hand coordination that when you begin to write things down that you have to do and start to make those lists and break these complex activities and projects down into chunks, it sort of puts a psychic energy in motion in your mind and in your consciousness that starts you on the path to getting it done. I don't think that you have that same connection with an electronic device or cell phone or a computer. But there's something about that connection between eye-hand coordination. Number 10, don't crowd your calendar with so many activities that you can't get them done. You know, in our zest, in our desire to eliminate procrastination and to get our goals done and achieved, sometimes we put so many things on the calendar that there's no way that we can get them all done in a day. And as a result, it undermines our activity. It frustrates us. When you start crowding your calendar with so many things, I got 22 things today, and at the end of the day, you've only done 3. That means those 18 or 19 things that didn't get done have to be carried over until the next day. So now you have 38 things to do. And so when you crowd your calendar, you literally set yourself up for frustration. It's better to set out to do 3 or 4 things each day and get them done, and then build to 5 and 6 and get them done. As you build your strength, as I said, procrastination is a habit. Well, success is a habit too. As you build your strength by accomplishing those things each day, as you pat yourself on the back for getting them done, it builds your strength, your confidence, and your faith. Number 11, don't let fear cause you to quit. Don't let fear cause you to be indecisive. You know, one of the challenges with procrastination is sometimes you just can't decide what to do. Forget how to do, forget when to do. You can't even decide to do it all. And so fear can be a great cause of procrastination. And it's not just one fear, but a combination of fears. Sometimes, you know, one of the great ones, Teddy Roosevelt, president, said, it's hard to fail, but it's worse to have never tried and succeeded. So the fear of failure can make you slow to make decisions, make you slow to take actions, and so you miss the boat. You miss the opportunity. The fear of failure will keep you from trying. So don't let that fear of failure keep you from going. Know that failure is just a dress rehearsal for success. And so the more you fail, the better it is. Thomas Edison said, I failed my way to success. Sometimes that fear of failure makes you focus on the bad things, the negative things, the things in the past that didn't go right. You know, it's very easy to drive a car looking in the rearview mirror, but I guarantee this, if you drive looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to have an accident. You're not going to get where you want to go. And so that fear of failure can undermine us so that we procrastinate and fail to take action. The fear of failure in all its different forms can paralyze us into inaction, into procrastination. Even the fear of success can cause procrastination. You know, many of us as children have been taught negative things about success. I'm sure you've heard it. Oh, successful people are miserable. Their kids are all messed up. They're unhappy. Even in church, I've heard the minister say, oh, money is the root of all evil. But let me tell you, the fear of success can paralyze you also. The fear of success and the fear of change can work together to cause you to procrastinate. And very often that fear of success is rooted in some of our childhood experiences, some of our negative feelings that we picked up in our childhood. Sometimes, our parents, I know many of us, have had parents who resented other people's success. And they'll say things about that. Oh, they're stuck up. Look at that. They're fronting. They seem happy, but they're messed up inside. Boy, when they go inside their house, it's a mess. And as children, we can pick up on that, those negative feelings about other people's success. And when we pick up on those negative feelings about other people's success, that what we feel about others, we really feel about ourselves. We always project ourselves out and back inward. And so these negative feelings can stop us in our tracks. This fear of success and of unworthiness. Sometimes we don't feel worthy of success. That in that early stage as children, many of our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes that were taught to us by someone else may make us feel unworthy. The good things never come to me. That early stage of our lives where our education is entrusted to other people. Hopefully, they were positive, uplifting people. And that created a positive, uplifting attitude in ourselves. But if they weren't, then it can create a crutch. But guess what? We can overcome that. Once we acknowledge and once we understand where that fear comes from, that fear of failure, that fear of success, or that fear of change, then we can neutralize it so that it can keep us from procrastinating to do the things that we want to do, to be the person we want to be. The 12th key is to be patient with yourself. We didn't get where we are overnight, and we don't solve the issue overnight. That when we're patient with ourselves by little victories, by executing these 12 steps so that we don't get frustrated, so that we don't plan too much, and so that frustration can then make us become impatient, become discouraged, and then quit. If we're patient with ourselves and treat ourselves in you might say, a daily harmonic where we congratulate ourselves for those little things that we do, where we build on those little successes, where we execute these steps to overcome procrastination, and where we make that total commitment to never quit, no matter what, then we cannot fail. Then we win. Then all that we're attempting to do, all that we're attempting to have, it is done. And so when we look at today, when we think about this, when we overcome those things, that when we realize that procrastination is a habit, when we look at the cost of procrastination, what it does to us, when we perfect that need of making a list and executing that list on a daily basis within a time frame, within time parameters, where every event is scheduled, and we do it according to schedule and within the schedule. when we hang in there no matter what, and when we're patient with ourselves, folks, we take a checkup from the neck up in our thinking and in our actions. We take a checkup from the heart down in our feelings and in our associations. When we can see the person that we want to be and the things we want to do, to have, when we can see it and feel it deep inside our core, deep inside our soul, when we can feel worthy of the success that we are seeking, the success that we deserve, the success that's in our mind, the success that's got to come to us, and when we believe it and act on it each and every day, when we act now, always, in the present, when we look at every moment of every day and say, what is the best use of my time right now? When I consider my goals, my vision, and my purpose. When we can ask that time question and act accordingly. When we can say, yes, I did everything I could with what I had to do it with to make tomorrow the way I want it to be. Then we will slay the dragon of procrastination. And we will soar like eagles to our dreams, to our purpose, and to our destiny. And so it is. Be great, be grateful, and do it now. And so it is. The best is yet to come.